For more, let's go to the northern French city of Lille. Rebecca Leffler is the France correspondent for Screen International magazine. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Bonsoir.
The French have an expression for larger-than-life characters, a monstre sacré, a sacred monster. That's not a pejorative term. It's a term that I guess you could say of respect. Gerard Depardieu was for a long time a sacred monster in the film industry.
Well, it's interesting because there is a double meaning to monster. They mean it, I guess, in a positive way, and I guess his image, especially internationally, has taken a turn downhill, I guess you could say, in recent days, months, years. There have been plenty of incidents unrelated to even the Me Too issue that is being addressed now on trial, but there is drunk driving, there was peeing in the aisle of an airplane. It hasn't been kind to him, but he is really at the center. He's definitely, there have been other, obviously the French Me Too movement has, taken on a life of its own recently. There have been other trials, Christophe Rougiat, for example, but he's the most high profile, the most well-known internationally, for sure. So it'll be really interesting. I think the eyes of the whole industry and I think Me Too movement in France and I think the world will be on looking at what's going to happen here.
It's been several decades, Rebecca, since the hit Hollywood movie Green Card, where he came in for criticism for admitting in an interview with Time magazine that he had taken part in a gang rape when he was a youth. And yet in France, that didn't tarnish him for years.
Well, that's what's very interesting about how Me Too has been kind of slow coming to France. You remember even you're mentioning Fanny Ardant and Catherine Deneuve that have defended him. Dominique Besnéard, one of France's biggest agents, just defended him last week. But because of all of this, it's been slow and kind of like everything French, it's been late, but it's been quite effective recently. The CNC, France's National Film Commission, has really taken strides among a lot of different players in the industry. There's a new committee on the CNC that, first of all, anyone who's involved in a film set now, from the director to the actors to every crew member, has to go through mandatory training to prevent such incidents of sexual harassment and sexual violence on film sets. So they're doing a lot for prevention. And I think the entire industry now, I think things have really, really changed, that everyone from major companies to smaller indie productions are really taking, victims' words into consideration. And the idea is that Gerard Depardieu, even Dominique Besnéard, when he went before this committee, the CNC, that's looking into everything and summoning different people in the industry to and Sandrine Rousseau, they're going to give a report at France's National Assembly, hopefully soon, to kind of assess where everything is. It's going to be really interesting because I think the public perception, I think the way that things are done in film have changed. And this was only 2021, which wasn't so long ago. But I think even since then, such behavior won't be tolerated on many different levels. But it'll be interesting to see if legally how France reacts to this.
France, which has one of the world's largest film industries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, the French film industry now France actually has this whole ecosystem of film where even though cinema has kind of been struggling, theaters are struggling to bring audiences back. France had a stellar 2024, 181 million tickets sold, and it's really a thriving industry. And Depardieu was, I would say, he's probably France's one of the most famous actors out of France, if not the most famous, especially internationally. And there is the question of, you're mentioning how it has divided people. And there are those who say, I mean, that's what Macron had been saying, that, well, maybe he's done all these things, but he's a great actor and we don't want to tarnish his legacy. And he just mentioned he wants to clear his name. So the question has always been whether it's Roman Polanski, whether it's even Woody Allen. In France, they've been, I guess, considered differently than in other places. And the debate is, do you separate the artist from the person? And then, of course, Depardieu's been accused by some 20 women now of different sexual assault on different levels, and this is the first to actually go to trial.
First to actually go to trial. One
Yeah.
quick final question for you, Rebecca Leffler. As you mentioned the French president, we saw a clip of that from that 2023 interview where he defended Gerard Depardieu. What did you make of it then? Why did Emmanuel Macron do that?
Well, I think it's a very French perspective that he's such a he's been in so many films that have really defined French cinema and have defined France, and to then his argument was such that you can't say that he's not a great artist, and he still should represent. It was a question of whether not to take away his Medal of Honor, and the question is, well, just because he's done these things, it doesn't tarnish an entire lifetime of artistic work. And so that's I guess the debate. And obviously he's the president of France, so it got a lot of backlash, and there are a lot of people who'd say no, we can't celebrate him. I think a lot of network, the questions of France Télévisions has had this issue where if you stop showing Gerard Depardieu films, or if no one is watching them, then you're punishing not only him, but an industry and everyone involved in the film, and the director and the actors. But at the same time, there's a difference between just airing one of his films and celebrating him. So I think that's a question that we'll see what happens moving forward. I mean, the judicial system may come out and say that this is justice and he didn't do anything wrong, and then that will, of course, enter the conversation.
Times have changed in the industry, you say. Many thanks, Rebecca Leffler,
Yes.
for being with us from Lille.
Thank you. Oui, bonsoir, bonne soirée.